Chapter 5. Now muster your troops, O daughter of troops. Now the exact meaning of this opening phrase is a little bit uncertain, but essentially the meaning of chapter 5, verse 1 is that the people of Israel are alarmed by the severity of the siege against Jerusalem that has even impacted and hit their present secular leadership, saying the siege has been laid against us. This is more like a sound the alarm, not a let's go win. It's a we're under attack, and the rod that the enemies, the adversaries, are striking even the present leadership of Israel on the cheek. Like they're actually damaging Israel's present leadership. Now that did happen in Micah's day with the Assyrian invasion that overcame the northern kingdom of Israel and did actually torture and injure, of course, the leadership of that day. But even then, Israel's leadership in the final tribulation faces great alarm and great difficulty, huge major challenges. For lack of a better word, we'll get to that more in later prophets. But you, O Bethlehem, now we're shifting. He's going to shift and say, hey, there's this great alarm, but let me tell you about the promise, the final deliverance, and let me tell you about the Messiah. He says, but you, O Bethlehem. This is that verse. This is the reference where, according to Scripture, Bethlehem is included in the Messiah's storyline. This is where we draw that prophecy from. You, O Bethlehem, who are little among the clans of Judah, but from you will come one who will be the ruler of Israel. This beautiful promise that Bethlehem's included in the Messiah's storyline, even as his birthplace, which Jesus did directly fulfill. From you will come one who will be the ruler of the earth. Now here's the difficult part, is that this is why the disciples of Jesus' day assumed that Jesus would be taking authority immediately, that there would be an immediate fulfillment of all these passages. But it wasn't so. Jesus was crucified, resurrected, and then ascended, and there's this waiting period for his return, for Jesus to be revealed as the Messianic King who comes and fulfills the rest of this promise. So I do understand why Jews would take issue with the interpretation that Jesus is the fulfiller of this passage, because he doesn't go on to fulfill the rest of the chapter yet. But he will, and it should become more clear even the closer that we get to that day. But from you will come one who will be the ruler of Israel, whose coming is from old, from the ancient days, referring back to the initial, promises of the redemptive plan, dating all the way back to the time of Moses, and the Davidic covenant too. Therefore, he shall give them up until the time when she who is in labor has given birth. This one, some commentators like to say that, well, this has to be, of course, the Virgin Mary, who is Jesus' natural mother. But the rest of these the rest of these verses wouldn't fit with that interpretation, because the rest of these were not fulfilled at that time. And so therefore he shall give them up, meaning Israel is given to the period of their rebellion and then their proceeding subsequent tribulation, until she who is in labor is then kind of interpreted to be maybe Zion, maybe Jerusalem, maybe the land of Israel itself. Maybe it's just a representative of the covenant itself that is in labor, waiting for the birth. And the birth is the Messianic age. That's the baby that's being birthed, is the Messianic age. It's the fulfillment of the passages we're about to look at. So there's this period where we have this interim where Israel is given up to a period of rebellion and tribulation until the labor is complete and the baby is ready to be born. And what is the baby? Well, that's what we're going to look at here. Then the rest of his brothers shall return to the people of Israel, and he shall stand. The he there is the Messianic King, the one from Bethlehem, who will be Jesus, will stand and shepherd his flock in the strength of the Lord and in the majesty of the name of the Lord God. And they shall dwell secure, for now he shall be great to the ends of the earth. Now, this is kind of a proto-Great Commission passage describing the reign and gospel, the news of the Messianic King being made great to the ends of the earth. It sounds a lot like the Great Commission, though this came before the Great Commission. But Micah is trying to describe very clearly here in Micah chapter 5 what amounts to the fulfillment of the Great Commission in the Messianic age, with the shepherd reigning in shepherding his flock from Jerusalem. Again, that didn't happen at Jesus' first coming, but it does happen at his second coming. And so that's why she who is in labor is kind of a figurative representation of Zion or of the covenant, whatever it looks like, for the covenant birth to actually be completed. And he shall be their peace. Now this "and he shall be their peace," most commentators look at these are sort of a poem or a song that all go together. So that's why "and he shall be their peace" is verse 5, and it should be kind of paragraphed down. But the spacing here is not quite that way in my ESV version. But he shall be their peace. Most commentators say that "there" should actually be "our," saying this is going to be our peace. When the Messianic King comes, this is kind of a song or a song of hope for that tribulation period that Micah is giving to those who are going into captivity. When the Assyrian comes, now again, the Assyrian is not just ancient Assyria. Most commentators agree, and they admit that the Assyrian has got to represent Israel's adversaries in a transcendent sense, because this was not fulfilled in Micah's day. If you were to say that the Assyrian in this case is only ancient Assyria, then you are arguing that Micah is a false prophet. And so most commentators won't go that far. Most commentators will say, no, the Assyrian is representative of Israel's adversaries all the way to the Antichrist. So this passage is beyond just Micah's generation because it's not fulfilled in his generation. When Israel's ultimate Assyrian, the final Assyrian, who is the Antichrist, comes into our land and treads on our palaces, then we will rise against him. 7 shepherds and 8 princes of men. Now that 7 of 8, 7 and 8 is kind of a Hebrew turn of phrase for an adequate number. Enough. We're going to have plenty. 7 and 8, if necessary. We'll have plenty. Enough princes of men who are going to be like these military generals of God's messianic army, who will shepherd the land of Assyria with a sword. So he's describing that messianic army. Where were they? They were just up here, weren't they? The threshers, the threshing army. That's what he's describing here. Who are going to shepherd the land of Assyria with the sword. This did not happen from the armies of Israel. You can maybe argue that it was Babylon, but again, that totally misses what Micah is trying to communicate here, that a final Assyrian who invades Israel is going to be defeated by military generals who are of the Messianic army. It's beautiful. They will shepherd the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod and its entrances. Literally, like they're going into the Assyrian territory. It's not just the liberation of Israel territory, but it is going into the Assyrian or the enemy territory and conquering it. And he shall deliver us from the Assyrian when he comes into our land and treads within our border. Then the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people. And now this is interesting. This is so cool. So we've talked about how as the Messiah is progressing toward Jerusalem in that day, the captives that he's setting free are being supernaturally rejuvenated. They're not being resurrected at that moment, but they're being supernaturally strengthened as soldiers to go conquer Israel's adversaries here. But the remnant who are captives and refugees also experience a supernatural rejuvenation as the Messiah comes into the land. It's super interesting. So even the captives and the refugees in distant lands, the remnant who are in the midst of many peoples, become like the dew from the Lord, like showers on the grass, which delay not for man nor wait for the children of man. He starts to talk about they're starting to experience a covenant revitalization. They're starting to experience a covenant blessing, even at a distance, as they're making their way to regather back to the land. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the nations and in the midst of many peoples, like a lion among the beasts of the forest. like a young lion among the flocks of the sheep. So there's even this supernatural strengthening of soldiers, even out in among the nations, among the people of Israel. When they go through, it treads down, it tears in pieces. There's none to deliver. They are basically, I mean, I don't know what to compare it to other than they become a blessed, unstoppable force for liberation and for the defeat of those who are seeking to exterminate them. I know it's quite a serious conversation, but there's this deliverance that is both localized to the region, but also is experienced by the people of Israel who have been in flight all across the nations. Very interesting. Your hand shall be lifted over your adversaries, and your enemies shall be cut off. Whew. Okay, and in that day, here we go. In that day, this is at the time of the kind of inauguration of the Messianic age. The Lord is speaking to the people of Israel, but he's also speaking to the nations. It's a little bit of both. And he's saying, I'm going to cut off your horses from among you, destroy your chariots, and cut off the fortified cities in your land, and throw down all of your strongholds, and cut off the sorceries from your land. Essentially, as Hosea had described, all of these places of misplaced trust, where Israel had sought to secure their own destiny apart from the covenant. They've basically sought to build their own covenants to secure their own destiny and their own prosperity apart from God. God is saying, I'm going to remove all those things, all of these idols, all these areas of misplaced trust, your misplaced trust in your military, your misplaced trust in these diplomatic alliances that ultimately betrayed you, your misplaced trust in idolatry and sorcery. I'm going to remove all of this from the land, and you'll have no more tellers of fortunes. I will cut off your carved images and your pillars from among you. The pillars represent like actual stone monuments that they built to idols. And you'll bow down no more to the work of your hands. Again, idolatry. And I will root out your Asherah images from among you and destroy your cities. Now remember, Israel built a lot of this sorcerous stuff and carved images and pillars using the covenant blessing that God had given to them. Took the land and the resources and started to devote it to idols when it was God who had given it to them. So he's really honing in on Hosea's message of, we're going to do away with the spiritual infidelity, and we're going to come into a covenant kind of marriage relationship where it's just going to be us. I am your God, you are my people, and I'm going to, in anger and wrath, execute vengeance on the nations who do not obey, the nations who have no regard for God's covenant, and in fact, the opposite, they want to exterminate any remnant of God's covenant. God says, I'm going to execute my vengeance on those nations in that day. All right, so that's the end of chapter 5. Remarkable stuff. Sounds very similar to Amos and Hosea, I know. Oh yeah, Amos 6 is where we get this beautiful passage where here, similar to Hosea, when Hosea is saying, hey, I know you're used to bringing all these offerings when you come to atone for sins and renew your covenant with the Lord. But let me tell you what the Lord is really going to desire. And here, Micah is doing the same thing. What is the Lord going to be pleased with? Do I bring 1,000 rams? Do I bring 10,000 rivers of oil? Man, shall I give my firstborn? What do I got to do to bring to the Lord that's an adequate gift? There's really nothing. And here's what Micah says. He says, God's told you what's good, what you need to bring. Maybe he's even referencing Hosea, because Hosea gave it to them like specifically. I don't know, that he might actually be Hosea, now that I think about it, but truly the Lord, through Hosea even, has told you, oh man, what is good. This is what the Lord requires, that you do justice, that you love kindness, and that you walk humbly with your God. Awesome passage. It's there. Of course, I'm not including Micah 6 as a whole chapter. I'm going to move down actually to Micah 7.